I'm used to signing paper without even looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Why would you go
it's
to the trouble?
7 PM. We'll call the meeting to order. And I think everybody
Don't
has
even get me
a
started.
copy of the minutes. We can review those.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
So seconded?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as written. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So minutes are accepted. Okay. Well, it looks like we're starting to get all of the financials and that coming in. Everybody's got a pretty big package right there for them to go over. Let's see. Who don't we have?
Old Home Day is the only one that we should have and do not have yet.
Okay, so that's... I suspect it will probably be around the same. It's pretty... yeah. We had good weather, so I think they used all the fireworks up. Everything, so we can do that.
We're on this committee.
The village district usually comes in a little later.
Did the Lake
Sure.
Region Planning Commission send something other than this?
We don't normally see the Lock in the Village District or the Sewer Commission until Dave's here before us. We're pretty close to right before we have him come in. Nothing from CASA?
Is that all we got from Lakes Region Planning? Just the cover sheet and basically it's like a bill?
Yeah.
Is that what we usually
Somebody
get?
explain to them that they're not exempt from the...
Okay.
No financials, no nothing.
Yeah, I think that they are sort of like the virtual kennels. I think they send us pretty much the same thing.
Their contract as well. And their request is identical to last year.
Which I think is the same for a few years.
Right. It had gone down from the 6,000.
Last year, they were budgeted 3204. This year, they're asking for 3258.
Or who? Who are you looking for? Who were you just looking
Lakes Region Planning.
for? I'd moved on to
Sorry.
Birchill Kennel. That's what I'm seeing here.
That's animal control, right?
Yeah.
Our welfare director, Heather, has asked to be notified if and when Genesis is going to come, because she'd like to be here as well.
We haven't scheduled it.
I see that they haven't. But she has some interesting information to pass on to us.
Right, we'll get that from her next week.
Yeah,
She's coming in front of us like she's done in the years past.
And she is coming next week?
Yeah, yeah, so that she can give us her recommendations on the outside agencies like she's done in years past.
Yeah, she particularly wanted to be here if Genesis showed up. I think she wanted to kind of confront them.
Well, if we schedule them,
I didn't see that.
we don't have them
We
scheduled.
didn't
I didn't see they
schedule
were
them.
on the schedule.
Now, last year, I think what they did, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had said no, and then that we weren't going to, and we got a letter in the mail from them.
Yes, we did.
And then we reviewed the letter in meeting and determined that we did not need to see them, that we had already made our determination, and that we wouldn't need them to come in, so we didn't have them come in front of us last year. I believe that was what
Yep.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do.
For some reason, I thought they then sent us another letter, but I may be wrong on that. I know they just didn't take
They
no
might
for
have
an
sent us a
answer.
second one. I would be in my files at home.
Yeah.
Well,
One file is enough to carry.
you'll have an interesting story to tell us.
Well, we should get that next week when we go over the...
What do you want to put that's on it? Christine Willow. What do you want to put that's on actually Christine Willow?
I don't know, but Maggie Pritchard sounds very familiar. I don't know why that name sounds so familiar.
This makes me crazy. How much we spend on this?
I know, I heard from the chief, and he didn't think that he would be able to make it for the scheduled on November 7th, I believe, is it? November 8th?
7th at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I was whenever you had him, I told him
Top of
to
the
call
next
me.
page.
Yeah, November 7th at 8 o'clock. So I'm not sure how we could swap that around. Have you talked to him at all? Or you guys- We usually do it together, the selectmen and... He suggested doing it I think it was the 24th, the night before Thanksgiving, which we're not meeting.
I think he was it's some kind of a Special Olympics that he's very involved in. That's why he had mentioned to me that he wondered what he should do, and I said, well, call John, he probably will work with you.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a preliminary budget for him because he comes with the selectmen when we present our
Yeah.
full budget. So why couldn't he send one of the lieutenants? Just to present the preliminary. It's just to let the budget committee know this is what they're thinking of, this is where they're at.
And then if we have any questions, we can give them to him and they'll have them prepared for us.
We'll probably won't be able to answer your questions, but we can probably have questions for the December 12th, when we're on together. I'll be back to you sooner with the questions.
Right, if somebody comes in on the 7th, at least they can present something, we'll have something to start reviewing, and we can go over it and ask questions based on what they present, so that when it comes in on the 12th,
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see that happens.
you'll see that somebody comes in on the 7th from the PD.
Yep.
Thank you. Was there anything else that you've heard that you needed to change, John?
No, that was it. Everybody else was pretty happy with their times. I think we've got a big packet that we'll probably take home and do some homework, and since sitting here, we can't really accomplish much. But,
Just have a library session.
Joanna, which ones were the ones that we didn't have copies of? Do you remember?
There's the financial reports of, I think it's Child and Family Services. I'll have to stack up there.
That would be this big stack here.
But there's only one copy of each of those.
Yeah.
Financial statements. Something like that.
Okay. So, you can see we've got all the financial reports here from Child Family Services, Community Action Program. And that would be both for the, I believe, the transportation one and for the cap. So instead of making copies, they're here. I don't know if anybody wants to review them or take them home and maybe we can hand them out.
I have two of
When
those.
does Pat come in?
Somebody take a look at each one or bring them back in. And this is the New Beginnings one. Anybody want to take a look at Child and Family Services, take it home with them? And this one.
Thank you.
And we have the Community Action Program financial statements. You want to grab one of those? Want to grab one? This one's a little thinner. And this should be the bus one.
That's still part of the CAP program.
Yeah.
Is this the transit, the one about the transit?
Is that
They
is that
submitted two
a
separate-
companion to
Right,
this, or is it
that's what they
two
did last
separate
time.
requests? Two separate
Two
requests.
separate requests.
Two separate, yeah.
And anybody want to do New Beginnings?
Never mind now, I don't need to
Fine.
see.
I'll do one.
Want to do one?
I've looked at it before.
Want to give Jane one, or trade?
Child Development Services or the New
I don't
Beginnings?
care, doesn't matter.
Back down
You
it
can
goes.
trade off.
Thank you.
And then we can get back to it or swap them up.
Notice that time.
What's that?
It'll be imperative that they're returned.
Yeah, we will need those back.
Yes.
We'll make a list of who's got what,
Have what? What?
so we can,
I don't remember what you're talking about.
we handed out the financials, and those are the only copies, so.
It's too bad they can't give these to us electronically, so we could, do without
They're
them
that
out in the
big.
paper.
I mean, the
No,
only
I
other thing
mean-
would be to scan it in.
Have we ever requested it that
This is
way?
fundraising stuff for New
It
Beginnings.
just
Did
would be
they mean
easier to read it on the computer, spend a lot of
that in here?
less.
Yes.
Okay, so you have,
If I scan this into my email at work, and I just bring it back to you, does that matter? Something to do.
Absolutely.
I might read and return.
okay, so we've got Lynn,
Spend a copy, you sure? I'll use it.
Lynn's got,
They gotta
Got
become
the
part of the
bus one?
IRS.
We got part of the IRS? Oh, my God.
Because they're
Jane's
990s.
got,
Wow.
I've got New Beginnings.
I think that's the first year they've ever done that. The 990s?
Maybe they didn't need to.
okay. The other thing we have here, schedule's all set. Take a look at the financials. They aren't completely up to date for today. How accurate would those be for today? The financials.
Tim,
Most of the revenues are in. We just got the bank statements in, but the college revenues that hit in right before. It just depends on the timing of when we receive it.
So
Tim, I missed that whole thing, because
Well, what happens is, we often don't have a report of all the revenues by the end of the month, because of where they're coming from. It just depends. Plus, also, we don't have the bank statements right away. So, what the expenditure should be accurate. There might be a department head that will make a change, once they see the report, but it's the revenues that we'll often not have at the time that we might get the report. So if I'm cutting it on a Thursday or Friday of the first, of that first week, in anticipation to a Wednesday meeting next week, it's just whatever we have at that time is what's going to be in there. So if anything, the revenues will be a little late. But it just so happened that I got the haulage revenue, which is, I think, 20-something thousand, just prior to running. So they would get those in.
Thank you, Tim.
Before we look at the financials, because when we look at the PD, this information might be different. I just look at it, the Board of Selectmen yesterday voted to hire 2 more full-time patrol officers.
Why?
A lot of them, it's still in non-public, but one that, the information that's not non-public is that one of the officers has gone back into the military. If he comes back, which looks like it'll be for some months, but if he comes back, we'd have to keep his slot open for him. It's the law. But in the meantime, the duration he'll be gone is quite significant, so there was a safety issue, they felt.
So for one of the positions, it's basically a replacement. Once this person comes on and they're a replacement, and the officer that comes back from serving overseas or wherever he's going, will that new officer be let go? Or will we, next year, will we be looking at having an expanded police force?
I think that's just something that, I think that's something
a long time
the
ago.
Board of Selectmen would have to look at that time.
We'll be back.
Do we have the money to carry a new officer? Or are you planning on?
Well, there's
we-
monies left over in the budget from the officer that left, because he has left.
So explain to me the rationale for 2 to replace 1 person?
I can explain to you the rationale for 1, which was...
Well, the guy's
Does it-
leaving and they need someone to
Right.
fill a slot.
The
So
second
why do we
one-
have to hire 2
well,
people
the second
to-
one, it has always been expressed by the chief that we were down by 1 before this officer left.
That is true, and we
And then
budgeted the money for him
they-
last year to hire somebody, and he never did. Which leads me to the
Well, the
question,
Board of
how
Selectmen-
required was it?
The Board of Selectmen never did.
Right.
They've always
why.
wanted, but the
Wow.
Board of Selectmen didn't. The way it was explained to me has to do with patrol shifts, covering for officers, vacation times, times out sick. It's very difficult for them unless they have a full complement of 7.
Right. It's a coverage issue.
Are you looking at this person being a temporary full-time employee or a part-time employee?
These are
Full-time.
these are 2 full-time positions.
To replace 1 full-time position.
Entry level.
Entry level,
But even entry level, you're looking at basically $60,000, $70,000 a year per officer, even at an entry level. I mean, that's
60,000.
So that would include the benefit package, including us picking up his or her retirement for Group 2 at that point in time. And how long of a time are we looking at, potentially? I mean, with the U.S. government, there's no definite time, especially the military. Is there some general guidelines how long this officer would be employed?
Well, for all intents and purposes, these 2 were hired as full-time officers and not, one was a part-timer that was made full-time.
Okay.
Okay, and then they hired, so it's 2 full-time positions.
The gentleman that's in the
The
military,
gentleman that's in the military has predicted that he could be there until 2014.
2014? So he could, that person could actually go through this budget cycle and the next?
Right. And the next, and the next, and the next.
We could be expanding our police force by 2 full-time people.
Well, I mean, isn't that exactly
I'm not-
what we've
I guess I'm
done?
just trying to get a sense for this.
That is the situation today. If that officer comes back from the military, the Board of Selectmen at that time will have to make a decision, what they're
Inertia
gonna do.
being what it is, for all intents and purposes, we've expanded our police department.
I think some of what Kathleen
Right, I
is
mean-
stumbling over is not, it's not a part of not trying to give you information. some of it is in non-public, and as that information, we are allowed to give that information out, we will give that information to you, which would make a little bit more sense to what we did and how we did it and why we did it. And as that information comes forward, we will give that information to you. But for now, we did hire two, some of which we can share with you, and we're being upfront with you to say we hired two for a number of different reasons, and some of the reasons we can't share with you at this moment because they were in non-public.
Budgetary impact, I can tell you, for 2013, between one leader and the two entry-level coming on board is less than $25,000.
Less than 25,000. Because that takes into account that one of them was a part-timer, and we will not be replacing the part-time position?
No, it actually doesn't mean we take into account that. It's merely the budgeted amount for the person leaving versus the budgeted amount of the two first-year officers.
And that's due to the fact that we had a position that was unfilled but budgeted last year? Is that?
No, this is purely looking at the budgeted amount for the officer that's leaving versus the budgeted amount for the two officers coming on board. Because what you're really looking at is you're taking one of the highest paid out and bringing in two entry-level.
So, putting the policy stuff aside, how does this affect the current budget as it now stands for the police department?
You mean for the residual of this year? They should, I think we discovered there would be enough money in the budget
There is.
for these, to cover us for the end of the year.
Right, because I think the other part we'd take up with the next year's budget anyways, and maybe at that point, the picture would become clearer on where that's going. But if there's money in the existing budget at this point in time,
Right, the office.
Right, because
Yeah.
there's
The
that,
military's not getting paid.
right, so, I mean,
Salary, which was a high salary.
yeah,
coupled with the part-timers' monies, there's enough combining those two to cover the two full-time positions
Okay.
that were created yesterday to the end of the year.
And that's just within the PD portion of the budget, or is it?
That's right.
Okay.
okay.
That salary amount will be
Now, while he is deployed, are we still putting money into his retirement or insurance, or is he
He's
accruing?
completely there.
He's completely there, so it freezes where he is.
That's right.
His position has to be available to him if he so chooses when he comes back, though.
Yeah.
He steps into
So
where he
he's
was
basically-
when he left.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like he-
He continues his time and place. In other words, full-time. So if he has 10 years and he's gone for 2 or 3 years, then you add that 2 or 3 years on to his time. It isn't paid for us. It's time and place.
So he still accrues time towards his retirement?
Yes, no approved time.
And we don't have to make that up within the retirement system? We don't have to buy
pay?
back anything for him? We don't have to pay any type of penalty or anything like that in regards to that?
No,
Simply hold his position.
no. And this was not the first
wanna
time
make sure it's
this
in the
officer has been deployed for more than a year.
Good.
Sounds like fun. Are we on to financials now?
Yep, I'm back to the financials.
Excellent. I have a question, and as long as Tim is here, it's a good time to ask the question. Debt, principal on long-term bonds, debt, interest on long-term bonds. Are we done for this year, or are we going to be overspending those lines?
We're done.
Nice.
Thank you.
We're done. We're done as of now. I have to look and make sure that I can continue. Yes, we're done.
Thank you. I just hate being 75% complete and seeing lines in that, down in there that are 100, 96% spent, and
There may be one that...
Oh, God.
But we're essentially done for the year. There may be one small one.
On the revenue side, on page 1, it's the PD fines. Have we become an especially law-abiding community or something?
Some of the fines, motor vehicle fines, don't come back to the community.
Well, but they were budgeted, what about the, I mean,
I
I
don't know
realize
if
this is
that-
always a guesstimate, but,
Yeah, I don't know if that plays a role in,
Well, parking's separate, right?
yeah, parking fees, permits, fines are 2 lines up, and they're up. Sorry.
128%.
Yeah, but down on the police fines,
PD police fines.
we're only less than 30%. And as I ask, have we become an especially law-abiding community?
Maybe they didn't give out as many parking tickets as they thought
We have
they would.
nicer police officers.
No, it's not parking.
It's not parking,
That's-
parking's
that's-
Parking's someplace else.
I don't know.
Right, that's what comes back to us.
Because there are only our own ordinances
Right.
Right.
is what that involves, those fines. The town ordinances is what we recoup.
Right, but I'm
Yes,
just saying,
as
they were
far as-
budgeted at 4,800 is the estimate that we were given, and that must have come from somewhere. And now here we are, beginning to near the end of the year.
If I may, because I've had the same question too. The way the revenue from the PD is categorized is something that I wanted to sit down with the chief and do, and we were supposed to do that today. We're not going to do it Friday, because if you look at the witness and court fees...
That was way up.
They're way up.
Yeah.
So when you take all of his fees and fines and lump them together, and then you look at the year-to-date portions, it gives a more even picture. So what I'm thinking is maybe some of these may be miscategorized.
Just apportioned wrong.
Because they go through a several-step process before they actually, get into here, so...
Who's categorizing them? Is it Lisa, or does each individual officer give them a category before they submit them?
Well, that may happen as well, but once Lisa does it and they're sent over, then they're transcribed onto a selection sheet, and then that goes in. And there's occasions where transposition can occur from one report to the other.
Because the grants are real low. And I think, yeah, the grants,
Had they
We said
anticipated something
12,000.
they weren't awarded or something?
Isn't this the time of year when they apply for those grants, though? A lot of the grants is now,
A lot of the stuff is around the holidays.
so it's just, you may see it the next couple months.
because we're,
Does it
well,
usually come in with a stack of them for us to sign?
grants to apply for, so we wouldn't be to reimburse.
one of them we won't get reimbursed for through a grant is the motorcycle, but that was paid for by AutoServe, correct?
Where's that come in through? Because that would be a grant or a donation.
Will be great.
Wouldn't be a grant?
It would be a donation, though. But it,
Is that the $1,800? So did they pay it?
We actually haven't paid for the motorcycles yet. Usually, we pay for it at the same time we receive the donation. It's an in and an out. But we haven't received the invoice for it. I should say, I haven't received the invoice for the motorcycle.
Did we receive the funds from AutoServe?
Not as yet, but typically, those come in hand in hand. So the expense as well as the donation to offset come in
So
usually in the same invoice.
so basically, the bill comes in, he'll run up to AutoServe and say, cut me a check for this, and here's the bill, yeah, okay.
It's always that easy.
There is also a grant.
You want to pay for it?
As you noted that the revenue is very low, the expense, the grant line expense is also low.
Grant expenditure, none.
Why is the school resource officer up?
Is that because we recalculated
Okay, all right.
to include the actual costs in vacations and
Okay.
It's
all that?
closer to the actual cost.
Closer.
We also bill a fiscal year to the school district, and yet we show a calendar year on our financials. So there's always going to be a little differential, depending on whether it's going up or and it'll be higher still for this next year. Because of increased requirements.
Meals taxes, huh?
The rooms and meals taxes, and what's the other one there, Eric? There's
Oh.
one,
Those we get at the very end of the year.
right.
The rooms and meals will come December the 30th, the very tail end of the year.
I think the state's saying it's up this year.
I talked to DRA, I didn't get a new update on it. We're very similarly going through those, and I'll know whether it's dramatically changed. We did not, we've seen maybe a $4,000 change in prior years, and that was down. It's all based off of the formula. And unfortunately, municipalities like us, we really are at a disadvantage because we have a disproportionately large public safety group to handle a big retail area, and yet we only get the rooms and meals portion of some formula that's based across the state. So if you look at another town that has a higher population but has no retail, they're going to get more money than we get. Northfield makes a lot more in rooms and meals and has far less retail and far less cost of public service to maintain the public safety of retail. So but it's all based off
This
the formula.
conversation.
In my view, it's
Lopsided.
it's very lopsided. It doesn't reflect any real expense, particularly for a small population retail center focus.
Need some changes in color.
I think you might be right.
Did you hear me?
Thank you.
Do we have any more maintenance or repairs for the building here planned?
Well, planned.
Or
We're currently
scheduled?
getting estimates for replacing the flooring downstairs. Doing something over the ramp to prevent ice and snow from sliding off the roof onto people. And over the door. And we've talked about just over the door, we've talked about over the door and the ramp, those types of repairs.
And the bricks? on the
We've had
side?
an issue with, yeah, well, that's going to be, we are constantly, have been looking at this outside exterior wall, I've told you that before, for about 5 years now. Actually, I think we're going on 6 years. We're going to have to find a resolution. It's just a very problematic job, staging, et cetera, et cetera. Diverting the waters down through that alleyway, hopefully into this catch basin underground, so we don't have that ice patch over the sidewalk, keeping it away from the building. We've had an issue with a mysterious water leak. We're not sure if it's wall or roof that appears in the back here. So there's those types of things. But, the most major is probably the carpeting, and that's the new one. Doesn't mean we'll do it, it just means we're looking at it.
I noticed there's a new bid out for cleaning services. Is it still cheaper to go out for services than to have an employee, a part-time employee, like we did at one time?
It's less problematic.
Okay.
When we had an in-house person, a lot of things weren't getting done, timely manner and properly, especially in the park.
No supervision.
So, although,
Your estimate's still coming in, Jim, so if you
Okay.
want to do it later.
So the park cleaning comes out of the town, not out of the park commissioners?
They budget it.
Okay.
Each department budgets it with
All right.
their own budget.
That's what I meant.
How's the town car holding up? See that we paid some expenses.
Dennis has expressed to us that it probably needs to be replaced when we can, rust and frame issues. I think the motor is strong. But there seems to be an issue that the frame is probably not going to last as long as we'd like it to.
Have we gotten our second car yet?
The bubble? Bubble? Looks like a bubble.
Yeah, it does look like a bubble, doesn't it? A bubble with a ram on the front.
Yeah,
A cute little ram.
it's so funny to see little police cars like that.
I know.
We didn't get a report on the mileage, right? A new report? Just
Actually, it came at 4:49 tonight.
It's in your packet.
Is it somewhere else in my packet other than with the financials?
That's right there.
Oh, look,
There you go.
there it is. Unable to read, backlight issue.
Yes. You don't have any post-its with you, do you? You don't have anything like a post-it.
Post it?
This one, mark this one, must return.
What color would you like? Yeah. Either that, or we could have it scanned in and emailed to you, so you can look on the computer at it. Would you rather do that?
That would be wonderful. Then I don't have to keep track of it. How's that? for
Yeah.
getting my
Would that be better if Lynn just, we could scan this and PDF it to her?
That would be great.
Help her know that.
Something for Dennis to fix. The backlight.
Yeah, something for Dennis to fix. But those are some of the 06s, so it's there.
If you look on the back page in February, and in June,
I love those
August,
scanners.
they had 110.
Yeah, they are pretty slow. The auto feed on ours broke. Makes it all over the place.
If we've gotten the 2 cars here for 12, how come I don't have a car number 12? What am I missing here?
13s is what they go by. It's on the very back page. They use 3A and 3D actually.
Okay,
For those.
for those ones? Instead of 13?
Instead of 13, just to keep us on our toes, or...
Yeah, not lucky.
They do it.
What's
All on there.
policeman a little...
Don't make me think, I mean, I you know,
We still have an 03, don't confuse it with the 03.
exactly. And you know how easily I get confused.
That would be the point. Not release could be the thing, no, not at all.
Still a lot of miles.
They both hit. Didn't we get one of these cars early in the year?
Yes.
And the other one more recently? And they both have
Well, it's-
roughly 10,000 miles on them? I mean,
April and May.
April and May.
Yeah, they weren't that
They were-
far apart.
Yeah. You should see our calls too.
Calls,
Calls to service.
Calls to service.
no, technically, what is a call to service, though? Anytime they make contact with anybody, so it's not necessarily,
Anytime they have to drive anywhere.
but if somebody came up and asked for directions,
No, that's not.
that's the way it was explained before, that anytime if they unlock a car or
Yep.
show up anywhere
Yep.
for anything, or somebody
Yep.
talks to them, it's calls to service. And naturally, see, the thing about the calls to service is, when you add another employee, you're going to increase your calls to service, no matter what. So now that, if we add 2 more employees, we will be increasing our calls to service, because those 2 will be doing calls to service, or, it won't be doing things.
I guess that's part of the data too that I'm missing, because I get the sheet here with mileage, and if there's an explanation why the mileage is going up, like an increase for calls, that's important for us to
I've asked
look
the
at.
chief if he could produce a document. When you see calls to service, you'll see burglary.
Yeah, and
You'll
that's,
see so many, and you'll see, I can't think of the others, whatever crimes are, but, I mean, to me, there's different degrees of burglary, if you will. It's like I was with an officer the other day, we're in Winnisquam, patrolling on Hill Road, and he gets a call to service. We had to go to the ball field for a grill fire, and we got there, there was no grill fire, it was out, but he had to write a call to service, and he had to turn around and go back. And then he went back to complete his patrol route that he had mapped out for himself. So it was like, I'm sitting there going, wow, but he had to respond.
and that's the...
But I've asked the chief to break those things down so you can look at, a
Right.
grill fire, cat in a tree, or, somebody's locked out of their car 5 or 6 times a week. So you
Because
can
the-
look at those things and see what heinous crimes are really out there and what are,
Also, the mileage that you're looking at is about 450 miles on average a week.
Yeah, and that's the perception I want people to come away. This is not just patrol time. It's a lot of the added stuff that someone may be at Mosquito Bridge and get a call to Franklin Line, and they have to respond and then go back to where they're going. The question I have is, the SRO has one of these cars? Do we know which one the SRO has?
Yeah, he has either the 4B or the 3. Mostly the 3, but the 3's not, right? Right, it's mostly the 3. The 3's not available and it's in the shop.
Okay. So he's using that older cruiser and the school is paying for that use.
Yes.
$1,500.
Okay, so that mileage is actually being paid for from that other source? Okay.
Tim, that expression on your face, do you have more to add to that?
Tim and I go back with the SRO, right? We'll talk about that.
Is he sitting there with that look on his face like, I could say a whole lot more, but I'm gonna just bite my tongue?
It's been a very difficult.
Mileage, it's a flat fee that the business pays for having the car present at the site.
Yes, we will talk about
It's
that.
not really mileage based in any way.
No. And I was trying to be a little facetious at that point, just to see what you would react to, Tim.
I wasn't going to touch it.
So, we get paid
$1,500
no, am I-
That's pretty cheap.
I know.
Yes, you know.
This was the mileage when it went in for service in March. So now here, 5 months later, in August, it's put on 2,000 miles. What would the skilled resource officer be doing, putting on 2,000 miles?
Because the car could be used at times when it's not. The detectives could use it when he's not at school, on the weekends.
But
It's not completely
It's
dedicated.
not assigned to
They
him.
also use it for details
Details.
as well.
It's not a front-end cruiser, but it's not exclusively for the use of the school resource officer.
Okay.
It's a lousy job negotiating the contract.
With the gas prices and vehicles, that's something we really want to try and minimize as much as possible. I know it's difficult to, but... Now, 11A, is that the SUV?
Yes. The 6C is the cheapest.
Why would they change the nomenclature? To keep us...
Did we get that corrected between the...
Why would they change the nomenclature?
I haven't even looked yet. The summer concert and the outside agencies Island summer concert, did we get that addressed so that
Pedantic about it.
matched up? Thank you, Tim.
Police.
No, but why change it from...
I had this note I've been carrying
That's
around.
Crown Vic, I don't care about that, but it says it was a 2010.
But you won't throw it away.
So why
No, I
was it
won't. I'm putting it right back in here where it belongs. Because I
Why
got
change the nomenclature?
That's 03, so
I was
that's not...
organized.
These are the two new cars.
Okay,
These
see,
are
that
the
says
old
03.
cars. That's what I'm saying. They changed
Getting
it
this
from this being in
organized last
2010
time.
is the Crown Vic 2010, CB10, but all of a sudden it's PI 03 for the two new ones. It makes no sense.
Because they're not Crown Vics.
I don't know why
I
they
don't
just
care.
don't use the year
Once you retire,
and a letter. 2011.
That's the brand of the car or whatever. I don't care about the PI, but why go to an 03 instead of a 13? It makes no sense. It's going to make me crazy.
It might be,
Inconsistencies
it could be
make me crazy.
the elevator things.
what are you doing?
It just makes no sense.
Don't have,
The computer did it because they work on 0 and 1, they just confused it.
Possible.
Accidental decimal.
It really doesn't matter, and it's none of my business, strictly speaking, and I'll be able to keep them sorted. But why change? Yeah. So CASA has just never picked up their $500 or never invoiced for it or whatever, is that what's happened there?
It's actually in the street.
Oh, it is, okay. Because on this statement, it's zero, standing to balance of 0 is 0%.
They do it usually at the end. Yep.
But they haven't sent us in a request, as we said earlier.
Yeah. Have they been defunded? By the state?
So we only have 2 frontline cruisers, do you know? Come on with that.
Well,
I-
unless you can count the SUV, but you really have,
No, we have the...
3.
The 10 as well as frontline cruiser.
Renee?
So that's still equipped. So that one, so that's still a frontline. 6B and 6C are no longer.
Right.
They used to be. So those are, I think 6C is probably up there. That's, yeah, it's probably
The only difference
150 or
between
so
a
on that.
frontline cruiser and not is
No, that's-
lack of
that's
computer, is it not?
John.
Hmm?
That's got 110.
The equipment.
On the Chiefs car?
Look at your last page in your financials. In the August, yes, mileage, general, 110, 330, 76.
Okay.
6C, is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, 110, 337.
The end of August.
Okay.
That information that you see on those sheets, that I take off of repair records that
Yeah.
the highway department does. And then when they bring them down, that's why they're not always updated, they bring down a stack at a time. And so as a group report, I didn't have them new in the last one. But the mileage that you see on there is what the repair person records at the time that they repair it.
So they're all holding together pretty good. I don't see any major transmissions or anything.
Usually the major things you
She's good.
the different repair shop would be doing with a PM type of
Okay.
diagnosis. There was a transmission replaced at the end of last year.
Yeah, I remember that. Then there was another one that was,
There was a drive shaft or something else that was larger than that.
The fact that it hasn't gone up in the this year is a shame.
So that particular report just shows you the work that the highway department does, and this is all the repairs to do.
CASA didn't bill us. Red Cross still hasn't billed us. There's quite a few. Right? Oh, no, I see they did. Just CASA.
Lost my glasses. Look back and say, can't see anything.
Well, if anything else, it,
It's cheap. These are actually 3 pairs ago.
that's pretty much it unless anybody else has anything else to look at. We've got a bunch of financial things that the different departments have sent in to review. And next week, we have welfare.
Heather will go over all the outside agencies that she deals with.
Be trying. It can be trying at times for her.
If there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second
Motion to
that.
adjourn, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right.
Have your chair next week.
And she just,
I know.
you know what some towns are.
Now, we are on the road. We have 2 trips coming up. One
And then last week, they,
in October and one in November.
Bob was the
Genesis.
vice chair.
I can't remember the dates. I'll email
let me
you.
know.
It's
Yeah.
always